Hi, I'm Melissa Arrighi. I'm the host of Truth Be Told. I'm the town manager here in Plymouth, and this show has a couple special guests that I'm happy to have on. Now, originally, this show was going to be just going over some key things that were in my town manager's reports. However, even at this third episode, we've seen it morph a little bit into people being curious about what some of the divisions and departments do, what the staff is like. So I think I'm going to also use this opportunity on Truth Be Told to talk not just about all things local government, but to introduce you to some of the staff that works for the town and has some real knowledge about what goes on in their individual area and how it affects our overall government. Before I go to the guests, I just want to mention that at the recent select board meeting, the select board did vote to continue with two-way traffic on Court Street and Main Street throughout the upcoming outdoor dining. So you'll see signage and some barriers in place on or around May 1st. Two-way traffic will continue, and those barriers will come down sometime in the fall. We don't have an exact date yet. It will just depend on weather, staffing, and then if anything changes with outdoor dining in general. So now I'd like to get to the guests. We have Finance Director Lynne Barrett, who many of you will recognize. She's been with us a long time, well-trusted department head in the community. We also are thrilled to have Pam Borgatti. She's not an easy woman to get to come on camera. So Pam Borgatti is our treasurer collector in the finance department, and Patty Meachen has joined us as well. And Patty is the assistant treasurer. So welcome, ladies. It's great to actually have you here. I'm going to start with you, Pam, just because it's always fun to put you a little bit on the spot, because I know this and I'll probably never get you back. I want you to talk a little bit about your career path here in Plymouth for the town, because I find it fascinating where you started and what position you're in now.
So yes, thank you for having me, Melissa. I started as a part-time clerk in the police department many years ago, and worked for the police department, the Council on Aging, went into finance, worked with the Advisory and Finance Committee for 14 years, and here I am, the treasurer collector of the town. So I like to say sometimes be careful what you wish for. So I'm about 23 years with the town of Plymouth.
Yeah, that's a long time. Well, we've been really lucky to have you. Tell us a little bit about what your frontline staff does day to day and how it impacts the organization.
Certainly. So my frontline staff is like the backbone of the department. They are tremendous ladies working for me. They do a great job. First of all, their main responsibility is the frontline customers coming through the door and, just trying to serve the public when they're paying their bills. But there's so much more that goes on in my department. They deal with attorneys, they deal with title companies, they deal with the bankruptcies, and the municipal lien certificates, which are when properties are sold in Plymouth. And as you know, the market is a little crazy right now. So we are a little overwhelmed with the MLCs. I think we'll probably do about 7,000 this year, which is more than double what we've done in the past. But there are several other things that we do in trying to create ease for people during this pandemic. We've done a lot of technology upgrades. We have a new kiosk coming out front, as some of people may have seen. Technology for permitting online, selling the beach stickers and transfer station. And so with that technology, it's great on the front end, but however great it is for the people who see it and think possibly we don't need as much staff, it actually creates a lot more work on the back end. There are downloads, files that need to be downloaded, reconciliations that need to be done, those types of things. So it's a very busy office. There is truly never any downtime. And I guess the plus in that is that the day's over before you know it.
So I think that your department is one of the top departments that deals with customers in and out every day, whether it is on the phone, by email, or seeing them in person, similar to the clerk's office. When we had a reception at the doors, the main entrance of Town Hall, we noticed the majority of traffic really goes to your area, the clerk's office, followed by assessing. Tell us a little bit about how the staff is able to manage not only just that kind of volume, but dealing with customers can be difficult.
Yeah, it can be extremely difficult. And a lot of times customers very pleasant, very understanding with whatever we're trying to help them with. And then there are times when they are extremely rude. And you're trying to help them. And so you think they would be a little bit more gracious, but unfortunately, everyone feels entitled, and we do try to help them as best we can. We can't always make everyone happy. We do have a very high call volume. I believe when we were closed during the month, over the summer months, we had one month that we had about 16,000 calls. So trying to keep up with returning, we do create a log of incoming calls and responses. So we do try to keep up with that. It's a little tough dealing with the volume. We do all the tax payments. I always say that the collector's office is the little engine that drives the train. We take in all the revenue, not only from the people coming in paying their taxes, but from every other department within the town. We handle all the bank accounts that revenue goes into. We take care of paying the debt that the town votes at town meeting. We do the foreclosures, which Patty can really give you an in-depth, overview of the tax title process, the foreclosure process, the auction process. There's a lot of things we do in that department, including assisting Lynn in the accounting area with the payroll and the vendor payments for people to get paid. It's just, there's a lot of different things. It's not just waiting on a customer and taking a tax payment.
Well, I just want you to know, just even on the show or anywhere else, I truly appreciate everything you and that frontline staff do every day. I see it. I see that you do get some difficult customers sometimes. I love that you always jump up and will try and pitch in and help with that situation. And I think right now, patience is even a little different with people. So we're seeing that everywhere, from the social media, what is it, keyboard warrior, and what they will say, right up to sometimes people in front of us. But we just have to remember that so many customers are great. And those are the ones that we have to try and think about when we're dealing with that more difficult one. You mentioned the foreclosure process and the auction process. I have to tell you that other town managers have mentioned to me that it's pretty impressive what our rate is in terms of collecting taxes, and then how quickly we move in terms of if taxes haven't been paid for quite some time, what we do about it. I know in some of the communities, they let that languish, and
Yes.
when the house is sold, that is when the community gets the money that is owed to all the residents. But Patty, can you talk to us a little bit about how we do it here in Plymouth?
Sure. So we, after the demand is sent out typically in June, we will send a letter as a follow-up the following month to make everyone aware that the demands went out, they're still outstanding, and that the town is getting ready to initiate the tax lien process. And so we try to get as many of those delinquent accounts cleared up prior to legal fees from being assessed onto these accounts. So typically in September, we will send the delinquent file to the attorneys, and it takes a couple months. They have to do title research and all that. And we will usually do an advertisement in November to give them a last opportunity to clear up the outstanding taxes before the lien is recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And that is done typically in the month of December. From the time frame that the tax lien is recorded at the registry, we have about a 6-month waiting period before the town is allowed to proceed with the foreclosure petition in the land court. So once that 6-month time period has expired, we do move pretty quickly with filing the foreclosure petition in the land court. And then from that time period, it can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months, sometimes longer, depending on if there's issues with the title. But usually we can get the foreclosure in about a 12-month period or so. If we do end up foreclosing on a property, from there, we will circulate that property around to the different departments within the town to see if there is any interest in retaining that property for municipal purposes, such as open space, conservation, affordable housing, if it is a dwelling, And depending on what the interest is within the town, we then may be able to take it to public auction. And we have had a few auctions over the last few years, and we did have a pretty good turnout. And I think we probably were able to, between the auctions, take in over $1 million and restore that back to town revenue and restore those properties back to the tax roll.
Now, people will ask questions like, is there amount of money if somebody owes a couple $1,000s in back taxes, or if they owe 25,000 in back taxes? Do we differentiate before we start the process?
No. No, everybody is pretty much, it's treated equally. We don't make exceptions for anyone. So regardless of the amount, if there's an outstanding balance, we will place a lien on the property.
I think that's important for us to tell the public, because I know sometimes they say, well, this person just owed such a small amount of money. Why would they be in that process versus somebody else that might owe quite a bit? Well, the reason is because we're not going to differentiate when it comes to public dollars, what's important and what's less important. If it's owed to the community and it's owed to the town coffers, we're going to move forward with it. You have a pretty high collection rate though, don't you, before things actually get to auction? It sounds like it's about a 2-year process from start to finish without complications.
Right, and our collection rate is about 98.2%. So we do very well. It's a very time-consuming process, but there are courtesies that we do extend to the taxpayers during this process to try to give them the opportunity to clear up these balances, because once we send out the demands, usually we'll send out anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 letters to make the taxpayers aware that there is an outstanding balance. And by the time we actually get to the lien process, we're liening about 115 to 125 properties. So even just in that short, 3 to 4 month period of time, for the delinquent accounts, we're collecting even, 90-something% of those as well.
Right, so less than 10% of homeowners, or in some cases, I think it might be banks that get behind on these payments, about 90% of them will pay up rather than have the property liened. Yes,
depending on we have seen different scenarios over the years. There are some banks that, sometimes the lien actually is resulted from a water lien that was placed on the property. And some of the banks or mortgage companies, they will not go ahead and pay that outstanding lien. They will let it ride through and get it as close to the foreclosure process before they actually pay it off, because I think they're waiting for the property owner to pay it, because their agreement with the taxpayers to pay the taxes, which they have done, they don't have an agreement to pay their water. So a lot of times, depending on what the situation is, we do see some mortgage companies that will pay off the lien just to make sure that they have kept their interest in the property, because the town supersedes any banks in the foreclosure process. But some of them will actually wait. They'll call up and they'll say, how many more days until the foreclosure? And that's not something that we typically are aware of. Basically, we get notified from our attorneys once the land court has entered the final decree of foreclosure.
Yeah, I bet this does take up a significant amount of your time, but I have to tell you, start to finish, it's if you set the emotional aspect aside, it's a very interesting process. And I do realize that the final auctions, the one that we had, I believe we had 1 or 2 at 11 Lincoln Street, the former town hall, and I believe we've held one at 26 Court Street. They were quite successful, with a lot of people that showed up that are interested in buying this auction property. And correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of these pieces of property, pieces of land that are deemed unbuildable, right? Once we take them over, they're deemed unbuildable. And I think that's under one of our bylaws or just a standard process we follow. And it's an abutter that buys the property.
Yes.
Correct.
And the nice thing that the residents need to know, the great thing for the town about that is not only is the resident able to expand their property line, but then it goes back on the tax rolls.
Yeah.
Because we then assess the property at higher due to that additional land. Thanks, Patty. I think that's really interesting. One of these times we're going to do a little filming in an auction so we can see it in action. But for now, let's go to the finance director. And I wondered if we could pull up a picture of that kiosk that you are so proud of and was your idea, and that we have right now that is outside 26 Court Street. It's at our main back entrance. Here it is on the screen. And Lynn, tell us a little bit about that kiosk and what our plans are.
You have a picture of it? Is that what or you want me to show a picture of it?
No, you don't need to. We pulled that up on the screen. PAC TV was able to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, due to the pandemic, I mean, we were trying to think of creative ways to have the public pay bills without having contact with the treasurer collector's office, or even giving them another option to pay their bills in addition to paying them online through our online payment processing. So we've been working with the company City Base to get the kiosk up and running. It's taken a little bit longer than we had anticipated, and I think that was because they sold a lot of these to different municipalities and water and sewer companies because you could use CARES Act money for the purchase. So that's what we did. So it just put us a little bit behind schedule, but I think we're probably going to be going live with it next month. Just in time we're sending out motor vehicle excise payments, I believe I think it's tomorrow. Those motor vehicle excise are going out. Probably like 70,000 bills are going out for motor vehicle excise, and they're due probably by March 25th or something like that. So that would be a good use, for the kiosk, is they're going to be able to either pay by cash or by check or by credit card. So it's got some flexibility for them. So we plan on, maybe putting together a little video and having that on the website of a sample of how you go through, paying on the kiosk. But it should be very user-friendly, just like an ATM machine, big, things that you choose and stuff like that. So we're pretty excited about it. And like Pam said, it is another tool for the customer. But it does, however, create more work on the back end for the staff. But I think they're pretty excited about it too, and hopefully it's very successful.
So Lynn, it will accept, so you'll be able to pay your motor vehicle excise tax. You'll be able to pay your property taxes. Did you say water and sewer bills?
Yeah, so we're going to do water and sewer, motor vehicle excise, real estate, personal property, and boat excise. So all of those will be on the kiosk, and then depending on its success, and we're try to add some things in the future to it, depending on what those things are. But for right now, those will be the items that they'll be able to pay online. Water and sewer is going to take a little bit more time. We're going to go live with real estate, PP, motor vehicle, and boat probably by the end of next month.
That's great. No, that's good news. I think more of those tools that we can offer, the better. I will tell you, people still seem to really like to come into this office that one-on-one and pay directly, but we're giving options now, and we are finding, even generationally, there are some differences with people that don't necessarily want to go into town hall and do these functions. But while we're talking about the kiosk, I want to get to something I want to spotlight at every one of these shows, in Truth Be Told, and that is sort of a trust the facts, which is the expression that the Commonwealth is using. For me, it's a little bit about what we're hearing out there for either a rumor or somebody is saying this, other people are believing it. I want to be able to address it right here. So Pam Borgatti, I believe you've already heard something about the kiosk and it isn't even up and running yet. So tell me that so we can answer it.
So we've heard, through social media, I try not to look at it, but people do tell me. We've heard that people are wondering if we're going to be able to let staff go because we have this new machine to take the place of one of our staff members. And in actuality, as I said earlier, and as Lynn mentioned, we actually could use more staff because we are now have another download, another reconciliation to do, another process that needs to be taken care of in the back office. So I think what people don't understand is we're trying to make it convenient for them. And as a result, it actually adds additional workload to my office. And I use a lot of times the example, you go on your bank and you make a payment and you pay your taxes to us. That's wonderful. You're all done. What we get is a physical check in the office that now, if you haven't put the correct account number, parcel ID, it's now a treasure hunt to try to find what did you intend to do with that check. So again, a person has to physically look that information up, decide what it is that you need, and try to process it or return it to you and say, we don't have any idea what you're trying to do. So by all this technology, it's wonderful on the front end. Again, it just creates an additional workload on the back end for file downloads, reconciliations, and those types of things.
Well, thank you for clearing that up. So in short, the kiosk and the ability to pay property taxes, excise, water, sewer, and other bills at the kiosk without having direct contact with a staff member is not going to result in us reducing the staff that is in the collector treasurer's office. I actually think that Pam Borgatti went one step further and has actually hit us up to increase her budget with more staffing on Truth. So we'll look forward to seeing where that goes in future budgets. I know it went by quick. Ladies, that's all the time we have for today on Truth Be Told. Thank you so much for joining me today. Look forward to having these in the future. And for now, it's some great information that we can get out to the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.